review the sun, the stars, and the cardinal directions, and take a look at some patterns we have discovered about these three things. So the sun always rises in the east. So sunrise ends in E, and east starts with E. That's one of my tools I tried to show you guys for sun rises in the east. And the sun sets in the west. The sun does this every single day. It rises in the east and sets in the west. And because it has this pattern, some other things that the sun affects is our shadows. So the sun, when it rises in the east and sets in the west, it also is sometimes lower in the sky and higher in the sky. So when the sun is lower in the sky, our shadows are longer. When the sun is higher in the sky, our shadows are shorter. And when it's setting, it's longer again, and our shadows get longer. Do you remember when we got to measure and draw out and trace our shadows in chalk? That was really fun. So let's talk about the patterns in stars. So in places with less light pollution, you will find more stars. Do you remember we had a good discussion about if you prefer cities with less light pollution and more stars out, or you can't see as many stars but you have more lights out at night? As a class, I remember we were pretty split between what we preferred. I think my final vote would be, this is a hard choice, but my final vote would be for seeing less stars but having more night lights out at night. But anyway, among the stars, scientists and observers, just regular citizens, noticed a pattern, that there were certain stars in the sky that always showed up in the same place. And those patterns we call constellations. Our most famous example is Ursa Major, or the Big Bear. So now there are 88 registered constellations by scientists. So you can look up at the sky and you can connect the stars, almost like connect the dots, any way you want to. But there are 88 recognized constellations among scientists, and the reason why they developed a specific star map was so that scientists could communicate to each other with looking at the same chart. So if I'm a scientist and I discover a new planet, I can say, oh, and I want to tell you about it, and you live in a totally different area across the world, I can say, okay, this new planet is just, so-and-so degrees to the left of Orion. And because we have this common map, we know, okay, here's Orion, and here's this discovered planet, etc. We also talked about the cardinal directions. The cardinal directions means north, east, south, and west, and how to orient yourself. A way to remember this, I try to tell you guys never eat soggy wheat, because that rhymes and I think that's cool, but I got massively rejected, and you said, no, it's never eat soggy waffles. So whatever works for you works for me. Never eat soggy waffles, north, east, south, west. So if we were using this in practice, the same way people used to navigate by looking at the constellations in the sky, now we can use a modern compass to orient ourselves. So if I had a compass out in this map and we're focusing on the United States, we would say Canada is north of the United States, Mexico is south of the United States. If we looked at just California, and let's see, here's San Jose on the map, we would say Fresno is southeast of San Jose, and San Francisco is northwest of San Jose, and we would say Monterey is south, Oakland is north. and we learned and we got to experiment with this is the way to properly use a compass. You need to make sure that the red needle is facing north. Once you're facing north, or you have your compass facing north, you can tell which things are in which direction of what you're looking for. A common phrase that I've heard passed down to me about how to use a compass, you want to remember, put red to bed. So bed is the north, and you want to make sure that the red needle is resting on north. That's pretty crazy. We can fit so many weeks of science learning into a few minutes of review, but here we are. These are the highlights from our unit on the sun, the stars, and the cardinal directions.